So in this video, I am going to explain about the design of the microservices, or you can service component architecture. So especially I am preparing for my friends. They ask me to, instead of writing the articles, video are much more better way to explain. So prior to going in the design, what are the current challenges why people used to face? This is the same way what I observe in religion. It was just to practices to solve the human problems and make human life better. But over the period of time, human problems changed, and because of human lifestyle and other things. So most of the principles are still not relevant, and obviously when you make some principles, might be there is also some not perfect, 80-90% perfect. And later on, people used to focus on that particular religion. Okay, what my religion is saying, I will become, I will do the same thing in that fashion or that manner. So they used to become particular religion fanatical. Same thing happened with methodology. Methodology doesn't mean it is going to solve, our framework is your 100% problems. Over the period of time, your problems, your requirements change. So that's why always I used to recommend focus about your challenges accordingly. In some framework, 70-80%, whatever you can get the solution, adopt that solution. So don't rigid about particular framework or particular methodology. But in IT industry, there is also training business, lot of egos. So that's why people used to make their value. They used to rigid about framework so that they can make their own value, like you can say priest about particular religion. They know if you will go adopt the best practices from different religion, they will lose their value. So same thing is also happening in IT industry. So now come to the point. First, we need to focus about what are the IT challenges. Like few are already handled, few are new challenges. So one challenge was like there was a different functionality. I used to tell, like might be accounting, payment, and other thing. Either you are going loan management, or there you are going core banking, or any normal business transactions, payments, accounting is required. So if you are developing some particular software and other thing, so there was also chances like in loan management is also accounting, payment, core banking is also accounting, payment, some here also. So means redundant functionality. And apart from that, might be some is loan management in Java, some is in .NET, some is mainframe. So how to integrate? So there was also interoperability challenge. So there was one challenge, redundant functionality. In technical term, you can say reusability. Like a heterogeneous system. This is called interoperability in technical term. Apart from that, people used to bundle a big piece. So in case they want to modify something, they need to build entire code, and then they have to deploy. In case multiple teams are working, then you have to wait. So there was impacting in time to market. There was also challenge. It's very difficult to change and frequently to change in some portion. Even though some better technology available, you can't do because they are tightly coupled. So these are the few major security and other things are most of these already addressed. And apart from that, when you adopt some particular methodology, because of that methodology, few challenges also comes, and how to mitigate those challenges. So basically, you need to focus on that. Don't focus about domain driven or SOMA or any other methodology. First focus about what are your challenges, what are your requirements. According to those requirements, what methodology or which portion of that particular methodology is suitable, adopt in that way. But here, even though IT persons, peoples are very intelligent and every day they have to play with logic, they also used to become fanatical to particular framework, particular methodology. Because of that, the problems, instead of solving that, create a lot of challenges. So what I am trying to say, first, again repeating, first focus about the problems, and then accordingly to the solution. But unfortunately, if you'll find service component architecture, 13 years ago, I created 13 or 11 years ago, service component architecture group in LinkedIn. But still people used to highlight, oh, microservices, this benefit, that benefit. They used to compare with monolithic. So to be frank, monolithic, everywhere monolithic is not there. Most of the company always used to break in domain, subdomain, and a particular module. So even though you will also find they also used to deploy in the same way. So monolithic from last couple of years, nobody is going to bundle in that way. Yeah, but there was what challenges I have mentioned we need to also address. So now it is clear if once we will decompose the functionality, then we can bundle. But what level of small? Too small is also a problem. Too big is also a problem. So we need to decide the label that's should suitable for us. Once apart from that, what kind of things? So first I will address about the reusability, then scalability, because if it is a small portion, then you can easily scale. And each in big software, different portions has a different kind of compute and memory requirement. So you need to focus about the compute and memory requirement, reusability requirement, interoperability. But if you will go more loose coupling, you will break in small pieces. Then transactions also play very important, because and normal IT industry, what you need to do, you need to capture some data, then you have to do some kind of a logic. After that, you have to persist that thing. So in persistence, consistency play very important role, because in transaction system, your system should not be inconsistent. Eventually, consistency should be tolerated but should not be compromised. So these are the factor during the design of the microservice or component you need to focus. So first, it is clear you have to decompose, because there are enterprise, then enterprise has a domain, then subdomain. Here, bounded context always used to say domain, subdomain, subdomain, subdomain. So here I used to take the example of a lot of things I have written into the LinkedIn. So here I want to say how to decide the granularity. I just want to take a example. Simple, I was saying the payment. So suppose you are just grocery shop seller, very small shop. What you will do? What items somebody is buying, based upon that you have to generate the total amount, and he will be make payment, card payment or cash payment, you have to just take. Here payment is very simple. Immediately that guy will pay. You have to just record this particular bill number, this payment, cash or card, that's it. You don't have to go in more detail way. But think about that. Here there is no need to separate a payment, because it's a very small functionality. Even though if you are separating payment is another module, what is order capturing is another module, it doesn't make sense for this small. But if you think about the loan management or big transactions, where what you need to do, first you will sell something or provide some kind of services. Based upon that, the customer will pay through cash or check, and customer can also not for particular order, they can pay for different orders. So same check or cash you need to realize, and even though he will submit the cash, electronic payment can be like a check, draft, or electronic payment. So sometimes customer doesn't tell like this payment is from which order or what corresponding, and partial payment, full payment, lot of things are there. So here payment module we can separate, because there are a lot of complexity is available. So based upon that decomposition, when we will realize a lot of things are there, so it will better to separate. So how to separate? First you need to focus about the transaction should not compromise. Then obviously you are separating reusability, another thing you can easily achieve. And if it is also reusable across the domain, across the enterprise, then it is very easy, because you need to make it much more generic. So those are part of the reusability. It's very easy to identify, because industry is much more mature. Those are not part of the reusability. So first you need to think, take as possible as big interlinked activities. Like here I mentioned about the payment. So payment is saying like a lot of activities are interlinked. So first make the boundary based upon the interlinked activity. Then do the variation oriented analysis. Like if few portions is logic is frequently changing, either you have to go in a new component or rule engine, or in case there is also requirement like memory or compute area requirement is different, and you have to scale, so there is no make sense you bundle in a big piece, and based upon the other portion there is scalability, and scalability should determine, or you are just calculating, okay, like what is scalability need. But so so first focus about what are my challenges. Based upon those challenges, I have already mentioned about the more detailed key factors in LinkedIn. So based upon that, you define the boundary. Don't go about the bounded context and what they are saying, because they used to always say domain, subdomain, but they are never saying about the what are the thumb rules. Apart from, they used to say go with domain expert. Domain expert is just providing the domain knowledge. Microservices, monolithic, service component architecture, what are the internal structures, those building blocks should decide by architect, not should by business people. Business people just provide the knowledge, because they hardly matter what internally you are doing, microservices, this, that, another thing. Here, why I incorporated the transaction, because if you are going too small, so one example people always used to, oh, why should not single responsible principal should expose as a microservice or service component architecture. First thing, obviously self-contained is required for reusability, because you need to bundle also the database and other thing, otherwise you can't portable to another enterprise, another thing to reuse. Otherwise there is challenge, oh, this schema, how we separate this schema and all these things. So that's why self-contained was a requirement. All the 12 factor was the directly or indirectly requirement arrived due to you are going in that way. So few are derived, that's derived challenges, and you need to solve those things. So in this video, I'm just saying this thing. In next video, I will explain in more detail. So one thing, it is clear, don't focus in particular methodology. First focus on your challenge, and then whatever the methodologies are available, which portion is going to address your challenge, go in that way, rather than first decided the methodology and then try to solve your problem. Then what will happen? So in that way, over the period of time, that methodology also trying to adopt the other methodologies, and they used to try to bundle, oh, this is domain driven, or this is a service oriented modeling and architecture like SOMA methodology and other thing. And so, and once you will go from in that way, these are the my challenges, I have to go in. So these are the challenges, and here is my final goal. Lot of things automatically will clear in your mind, and your past experience will also help a lot. Thanks for my watching video. Have a nice day. In next video, I will try to cover in more detail depending upon what are your questions and suggestions. Thanks.